What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel, and hey, happy Friday. We're here today for another episode of the Dragon Empires, a 5-minute tour. We're fresh out of requests for this one, so I get to pick a thing on my own channel that's so cool today. We're just going to take them in order, I think, both today and unless I have requests until we clear this bad boy out. So it's all about Amandar. If you guys have any requests, as always, throw them in the comments. There's literally no line. Yours will happen immediately next week. But before any of them happen, we have to announce that there's yet another new patron here on the channel. Actually, I believe this is a patron who was once a patron who has returned to us, so that's even better. This episode of the Dragon Empires, a 5-minute tour, was brought to you in part by John Diffley. John, thanks for your help, my friend. Welcome back. We'll see you in the Discord. Now, let's dive in. So in the waning days of the Age of Enthronement, the nation of Taldor began to decline, and yeah, I know, this has nothing to do with the Dragon Empires, but follow this card right here, timeline video, will get you caught up on what happened in the Inner Sea, mostly with Taldor. A lot of people believe the cause of the Empire's troubles was linked fundamentally to the fact that Taldor had ceased to grow. The loss of land to war and succession was but a symptom of the Empire's just loss of interest. And so a dynamic and young general, Orfrea Amandar, organized a daring solution to the problem which came to be known as the 8th Army of Exploration. General Amandar set sail from Taldor, planning on finding a new land to rule on the far side of the world, just a few months before Eridan's death through the Inner Sea, just straight into chaos. Undaunted, she sailed through horrific storms and monster-haunted oceans and navigated dangerous waters, a feat that many naval commanders would certainly be proud of, yet Orfrea was only getting started. She sailed up the eastern coast of Tian Sha to find the land entangled in war because Imperial Lung Hua had just fallen, the mainland was in chaos, countless successor states and recently freed thrall nations were fighting one another for dominance. Again, we'll get to that in a timeline video as soon as we're done with this. The general sailed her fleet between Tianjing and Bachuan and navigated the Sea of Ghosts, finally making landfall in northern Shenmen with barely seaworthy ships. She led her bedraggled army north along the banks of the Gansu River, seizing territories and destroying enemies until at last they reached the war-torn city of Kamikobu. It had been a major trade route along one of Lung Hua's more important trade routes, a way station for travelers and a central meeting place for the governors of the provinces. When Lung Hua collapsed, the corrupt government of Kamikobu abandoned the city and fled east into what they hoped would be the safety of backwater Wanshou. The numerous bandit lords who dwelled in the region had long regarded Kamikobu as a breadbasket, and of course they spared no energy in attempting to seize this important city for themselves. The citizens of Kamikobu had been caught between a dozen different bickering warlords for well over a year when Amandar's troops arrived. Of course, travel-weary as they were nonetheless able to defeat the bandits and restore peace to the city. After the city was won, Orfrea gladly accepted the governor's seat and set about remaking Kamikobu and its environment into a nation-state that would be familiar to her people, beginning by renaming the city to New Opara, Opara of course being Taldor's capital, and the land itself after her own family name. By the time she died, the nation had become a full-fledged successor state of its own, and its influence has only continued to grow ever since. Contrary to one might suspect from the way it works in Taldor with the primogeniture, the rule of Amandar depends not on heredity but upon military power. The ruler of Amandar is also the commander of its army. When the nation's leader dies, rule passes to the next in command of the army. The position is open only to Taldans. The General of Amandar is aided by a council of advisors known as the General Staff, and all citizens must serve in the military a minimum of 5 years between the ages of 16 and 45. These years don't necessarily need to be consecutive. Between this, all citizens keep weapons in their homes and drill regularly. The familiarity with weaponry means that Amandarans can often find employment as mercenaries and guards for the many caravans that once more roll across Tian Sha's trade routes. Now, of course, all the regions everywhere in Galarion have real-world equivalents, and for Amandar, it kind of feels a little bit like the traders that came to the Far East. Think the Nanban bringing firearms to Japan, think travelers across the Silk Road with a little side of, let's set up a little bit of Roman Empire here while we're at it. It's a really good callback to the Inner Sea because really there are probably people out there who found the Dragon Empire's books before they found the Inner Sea books, so it makes for a great adventure hook to jump across the ocean to Avestan in much the same way that people living in the Far East must have been curious about the West from these Western merchants that would arrive on their shores, whether or not, they freed a city from bandits and then set up a immediate imperial state. One might also argue in a little bit of like the British involvement in China around the height of the British Empire, except, a little less horrible and terrible and evil. Now, if I were to bring adventurers here, honestly, I probably brought them over from Taldor, from Avestan itself, because I wanted to do a little bit of that Far East exploration in my campaign, and there's no better way to go from Avestan to Tian Sha than to take the party by boat to Amandar. Of course, it might be a little faster to cross the crown of the world, and hey, if you haven't caught up on that video, follow this card right here, and we'll teach you how to get to Tian Sha from Avestan on foot. But this is certainly much less of a culture shock than coming out of the mountains and suddenly here are strange people with a strange culture speaking a strange language. Here they're speaking Taldan, which, remember, that's common. Here there's a ruler who looks like you. The buildings probably look like where you came from. But there's enough foreign elements to slowly ease adventurers into a setting like the Dragon Empires and adventuring in the Far East. But what do you guys think about Amandar? Have you ever played a game here? Have you ever adventured in Amandar or any other lands that are similar to it across any setting? And of course, do you think we'll see anything of the Dragon Empires in Pathfinder 2nd Edition? I really hope we do, and throw it in the comments if you have anything else to add, because of course, we'll keep that conversation going. Anywho, that's all for today. Thanks again so much for watching, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. The next episode of the Dragon Empires, a 5-minute tour, drops next Friday.